it's Erica. Welcome back to Maniacal Reader. Today I'm doing my September T.B.R. If you watched my August wrap-up, you probably know that I'm in the middle of reading the Coincidence series by Jessica Swarenson. This is a new adult romance series. I read the first 2 books last month, and I ordered the rest of the series, but the books haven't arrived yet. I'll put an image on the screen to show you the books that I'm going to be reading, though. The first book I'm going to be reading is The Destiny of Violet and Luke. This is the 3rd book in the Coincidence series. It follows the romance of Violet and Luke. Luke is the best friend of Caden Owens. Caden Owens is Callie's boyfriend from the previous books. Violet is the college roommate of Callie. The next book I'm going to be reading is The Probability of Violet and Luke. This is the 4th book in the Coincidence series, and it continues Violet's and Luke's story. The 3rd book I'm going to be reading is The Certainty of Violet and Luke. This is the final book that follows Luke and Violet's romance. The next book I'm going to be reading is The Resolution of Callie and Caden. This is the final book that follows Callie and Caden's romance, and things get resolved in their story in this book. The 5th book I'm going to be reading this month is Zeth and Grayson. This is the final book in the Coincidence series, and it follows the romance of Callie's best friend Zeth and his romance with a guy named Grayson. Zeth has been dating Grayson since the beginning of the series. I've never read a book about a male romance before, so this should be interesting, but I am liking Zeth. He's a really good supportive character for Callie in this series, so I'm looking forward to reading his romance. Those are definitely the 5 books that I'm going to be reading this month, but since I read 10 books last month in August, I definitely want to give myself a somewhat lighter TBR since I was reading books constantly last month, and I did have an awesome reading month, but it felt like book overload, so I definitely want to go a little bit easier on myself this month. I have no idea what to read though, so I'm going to be using my TBR jar. I haven't used my TBR jar yet this year, except to read the books that are on my reading goals for this year. Today I'm going to be picking out some of the white slips randomly and see what I pick out. I'm going to pick out a few books from this jar, just so I have options of what I want to read, since the rest of my TBR this month is basically a free-for-all. I think 5 is a good number because it gives me lots of choices. Let's see what I picked out. The first book I picked was Eve and Adam by Michael Grant and Catherine Applegate. This is a YA sci-fi book. It follows this girl named Evening Spiker, who finds herself in a terrible car crash. But before she regained consciousness, she's told that a boy checked her out of the hospital and brought her to her mother's research facility, Spiker Biopharmaceuticals. While she's there healing from an injury, she's not interrupted by anyone except her mother and a team of doctors. Her mother tells her to create the perfect boy. I believe this book is a twist on the Adam and Eve story, obviously, given the title. And what if Eve was born first, and she was given the task to create the perfect Adam? This book sounds like it could be interesting, and I can't wait to see what happens. The next book I picked out was 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. This is a YA sci-fi book. I don't know much about this book, but I know that Claudia Gray is amazing, and this series has been popular on BookTube a lot. From what I know about this book, it follows this girl who travels in between parallel dimensions or parallel universes. I don't know much else about this book, but I think I'd want to go into it blind, since I'm interested in parallel universes and what could happen to characters. I think I'm really gonna like this book. It sounds fascinating. The 3rd book I picked out was Immortal by Gillian Shields. This is a YA paranormal fantasy series. This book follows a girl named Evie Johnson. Evie Johnson is torn away from her home at the sea and is forced to attend this private school called Wildcliff Abbey School for Young Ladies. The students are snobbish, and she doesn't really like the teachers, so she's pretty lonely at this school. Her only lifeline is Sebastian, whom she meets by chance. Sebastian is hiding secrets from his past. On top of that, Evie is having strange dreams about a ghostly girl who is a lot similar to Evie and could also be mistaken for her sister. Evie has no idea what's going on, and so she's tangled up in a web of past and present. I do love YA paranormal books. I haven't read one since last fall, so it will be interesting to get into one again. I'm looking forward to this book if I decide to pick it up. Next up, I have Unraveling by Elizabeth Norris. This is a YA sci-fi dystopian book. It follows this girl named Janelle, who 2 days ago before her junior year of high school, she gets hit by a pickup truck and is killed. She sees blinding lights and then nothing. But all of a sudden, she sees this guy named Ben leaning over her, and she knows that somehow Ben brought her back to life. Ben is a loner in her high school and a boy that she never talked to. But when she starts snooping in her father's FBI files to find out what happened in her accident, she discovers things that she never imagined. As the clock ticks down, Janelle has to figure out what happened to her and stop the end of the world. This book sounds really interesting, and it sounds like it could be an action-packed book, one that I'll definitely enjoy. The last book I have is Confessions of an Angry Girl by Liz Rosett. This is a YA contemporary book, and I believe this is the first book in a series, although it may be a standalone. I'm not too sure. I don't really know much about this book other than the main character's father died, and she kind of has to come to grips with this. It sounds like a book that deals with emotional, deep topics, but there might be some romance in this book too. Since I like contemporary, I'm sure I'll like this book. I am definitely reading the rest of the Coincidence series this month, but I'll probably only read 1 or 2 books from that stack of 5 since I want to give myself a somewhat lesser TBR. I'm not really sure what book I'm going to pick, but that's why I wanted the rest of my TBR to be a free-for-all, so I can choose whatever books I wanted. I really like the idea of having a TBR jar because I have so many books that I want to read, so many choices, and if I have a TBR jar helps narrow down the choices, but it also gives me as many choices as I want. I could definitely see myself using it next month. That's all for my September TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!